want to talk to you about Beansie Gaeta.
You know, he may never walk again.
Never say never.
No, say never. He's a shopping cart from here on out.
Let's face it, when most people think of Beansie Gaeta, they think...
Veal Parmesan sandwich.
To me, Beansie was one of the ultimate Sopranos survivors.
Terrible accident that kid had.
The first time we meet Beansie is in season 2, episode 3, Toodle-F***ing-Oo.
Hold on there. How could you let my dear friend sit here with an empty cup of coffee?
How could you let his friend sit there with an empty cup of coffee and a pot of coffee that he's going to end up using to hit Beansie over the head in a few minutes? I guess he's not too pleased that Beansie didn't reach out while he was in the can, and he also thinks that now that he's back, it's time to cash in on some of his earnings, including some of the money that Beansie has, since he was the one who apparently gave Beansie his start.
Hey, look, Rich, I know you're a made guy, so I lose either way. But I always respected you and your brother Jackie.
Once you enter this family, there's no getting out. But he never officially entered the family and was allowed to have this sort of adjacent lifestyle.
Sucking up to Tony Soprano has done wonders for you.
What exactly does Richie mean when he says sucking up to Tony Soprano? He means Beansie letting Tony launder money through his pizza restaurants.
Beansie Gaeta would still be selling nickel bags on Jefferson Avenue if it wasn't for Jackie.
Fine. Just thought I'd ask you before we went down to Jefferson Avenue.
You got a bad memory, Beansie.
I moved a lot of H for you and your brother, and you guys made the lion's share. You're just bitter because I invested my money smart. I'll step up.
Perhaps not the best choice of words there. I'm always a little surprised when I hear how involved Jackie Sr. was with drugs.
Hey, Sal, you need money, you come to me. You hear what I'm saying?
Don't be moving that H no more, puss.
So now Richie's back. Does Beansie still owe him money? I've always been curious about the circumstances surrounding Richie's arrest. Was it something similar to what happened with Tony and Tony B? Meaning Richie took the fall for someone, or someone failed to show up? Was Richie just caught because of his own fuck up? I feel like these details could factor into how much Richie is owed or entitled to. Richie calls Beansie a civilian. Let's say he actually was just a regular civilian. What could we compare this to in terms of situations? Say back in the day before Feech went to prison and before Sal Vitro had started his lawn company, Feech had him selling nickel bags on Jefferson Avenue. Feech gets arrested, maybe for drugs, maybe for something else. So he goes to prison, and then Sal Vitro does his own thing, starts his lawn company, has nothing to do with drugs. Then Feech comes back, and because he'd given Sal a chance at one point, now Sal owes him a portion of the proceeds from his lawn company.
He's taxing me, Tony.
But we know Beansie and Sal Vitro are not the same. Sal's an actual civilian in the true sense of the word, while Beansie is an associate of the family, so he is connected to connected guys, similarly to Hesh, though Hesh goes all the way back to Johnny Boy Soprano, so he's even more closely associated with the activities of the family. In any case, when Junior Soprano decides he wants to start taking more money from Hesh, from a family associate, Hesh doesn't say no to Junior. He talks to Tony, and eventually there's a sit-down to resolve it. Perhaps rather than just shutting him down completely, Beansie could have said what he needed to say to Richie to make sure that there was peace when Richie first visited him. Though I could also see Richie being pissed that Beansie would even go talk to Tony, just like how he got pissed when he thought that Beansie told Tony he wanted the ramp for his house. The dynamics and personalities at play when it comes to Hesh, Junior, Tony, and Johnny Sack at that time were much less of a wild card than we see with Richie. All in all, while I think Richie was way out of line for what he did with Beansie, especially after Tony told him to back off, Beansie, knowing who Richie Aprile was and seeing that cold look on his face, should have tried to appease him at the moment to get him to cool down.
How come you weren't at the party?
You're just bitter because I invested my money smart.
Spent mine on lawyers, you slippery fuck.
At the same time, we see what happened even after the warning from Tony. So I think Beansie was just in a really bad spot there. And I think it came down to whether he was going to lose money or lose something else. And in this case, it was the use of his legs.
Listen, if you don't like that ramp, I'll build you another one. Maybe it's the wood.
If only Richie had had a similar level of enthusiasm over building the ramp for Beansie.
Okay, I'll leave. But if you go crying to Tony Soprano one more time, if you open your mouth, I'm gonna send your arms where your legs are.
I think Gia's a little shocked that the guys have the nerve to show up and say that they were sent by Richie Aprile.
Are you from Rehab Outreach at St. Erasmus? Who sent you over here? Gia Aprile?
Tony talks about Beansie being a good earner.
He's a good earner. Yeah, for you. Those pizza joints are strictly a cash business.
Richie is a made guy and Beansie isn't, which means that even though what Richie did was extreme, a made man has protection.
License and registration, pal.
At the end of season 2, Tony gives Beansie $50,000 as sort of an apology on behalf of Richie, and Beansie doesn't want to accept the money. He knows it's blood money, or in his case, wheelchair money, but Tony insists, sort of like an insurance package on what went down. But you can tell that Beansie's not happy about this, and of course he doesn't talk to the cops, but it's not because of the money. He wasn't going to talk to the cops, whether or not Tony gave him money. Beansie and his wife Gia end up moving to Florida, and we see him briefly in season 4, episode 11.
Listen, I spoke to a friend. The son. He seemed very receptive. Tuesday night. We'll meet down here in FLA.
300 degrees in that Minnie Mouse head. So I took it off, you know? I was gonna have a cigarette. And some kid took a picture of me.
Girls. These gentlemen have things to discuss. Let's go.
After that, remember when we see Beansie again in season 6, episode 15? This is when we really see things come full circle and why I feel that victim is hardly adequate to sum up Beansie.
You two okay?
Dinner was great, hon.
Anytime you knew that.
Thank you.
After all these years, Beansie is still passing along business opportunities to Tony.
Hey, listen, before the girls get here, you remember that Cuban guy I was telling you about? He knocks over trucks. Last load was American Standard, sinks, toilets, tubs.
Oh, shit.
Tony vents to Beansie about Paulie not keeping his mouth shut and his concerns about whether he can trust Paulie in general. And Beansie assures Tony that Paulie's a stand-up guy who loves him, and he's got nothing to worry about.
I gotta say, it concerns me. Lately.
Nah. Come on.
Beansie may have, in fact, saved Paulie's life. Perhaps when Tony was considering trying to whack Paulie in the boat, he heard Beansie's words in his head.
Want to talk about stand-up guys? Sorry, Beans. From now on, every day is a gift.
Yeah.
Every day is a gift. It's just...
Also reminds me of Little Carmine in some ways. Besides the whole Miami thing, it seems like Beansie has an appreciation for the people and things in his life, more so than some other guys who are arguably in a much more comfortable position, like Tony and Paulie.
Oh, stay, it's all right, come on.
I gotta empty my bag anyway.
Oh, madam. He pisses in a bag now? Jesus Christ, fucking kill me now.
It's a great girl you got there. The way she stood by you.
It's not being boss.
But beyond all that, they have an unacknowledged understanding that I think transcended traditional friendship.
Here.
I can't do it.
Come on.
Thanks. Thanks, Tony.
His story, despite its brutality, offers a surprising lesson in resilience. I hope you enjoyed this video. What do you think about Beansie? I'd love to hear from you.